Imagine waking up every day with a clear sense of purpose, not letting setbacks or the chaos around you affect your focus. It sounds almost superhuman, but this was the daily life of Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and a Stoic philosopher. His personal notes, which have been preserved for thousands of years, are not just musings from a long time ago, but shockingly useful advice on how to use the power of self-discipline in the midst of life's noise. Today we're going to the heart of Stoicism, looking at its principles not as abstract ideas but as tools for living a more disciplined and fulfilled life. Stoicism teaches us how to turn adversity into an advantage, emotional turmoil into peace, and life's unpredictable events into sources of strength. Understanding the Stoic way of life can help you in a world full of constant distractions and quick gratifications, whether you're dealing with daily stresses and want to find inner peace or want to be more productive. Stoic ideology is based on us in the wisdom values bravery, fair play, and moderation. You don't just have to survive life, you have to thrive in it, no matter what. If you're ready to change how you see and deal with life's problems, read on. Stay tuned as we break down Marcus Aurelius's life-changing teachings and show you how they can be used to build a strong, disciplined life today. If you like what we're doing, please hit the subscribe button. Also, don't skip any part of the movie. If you're here, you're not like most people. So think of yourself as an exception and stay tuned for the unique insights we'll explore together. Number 1. The idea that self-discipline starts with finding your purpose is at the heart of Marcus Aurelius's philosophy. But what does it mean to find your purpose? It means figuring out what really matters to you, what drives you, and making sure that your daily actions are in line with that deeper calling. Marcus Aurelius wrote a lot about living in harmony with nature, which in Stoic terms means knowing your place in the bigger picture and doing what's right. For Aurelius, purpose wasn't just an abstract idea. It was a practical compass that guided all of his decisions, from the small to the large. He thought that knowing your purpose is what gets you out of bed in the morning, ready to face the challenges of the day, and what keeps you steadfast when temptations tempt you to stray. In modern times, it's not about big accomplishments or external praise, but about fulfilling the duties that life has given you and doing each task with dedication and honesty. It can be hard to figure out what your purpose is. We live in a world full of options and distractions that can pull us away from our real paths. This is where Stoic wisdom is not only useful but necessary. Stoicism teaches us to peel back the layers of superficial desires and fleeting emotions to reveal what is truly essential for our well-being and growth. It encourages us to ask ourselves, what is truly worth my time and energy? How can my actions today contribute to the greater good and to my personal development as we explore how to apply this principle in our lives? Think about what you are naturally drawn to, where you find deep satisfaction, or what challenges you are motivated to solve. These are clues to your purpose, and once identified, the Stoic practice of daily reflection becomes invaluable by continuously aligning your actions with your purpose by saying no to what doesn't serve you, and yes to what does you cultivate the self-discipline necessary to live a meaningful and impactful life. Let's take this insight from Marcus Aurelius and apply it daily. Ask yourself each morning, what am I meant to do today? And each evening, have I lived true to my purpose over time? This practice will not only build self-discipline, but also transform your life into a more purposeful and fulfilling journey. Number 2, believe in yourself. When Marcus Aurelius wrote about self-discipline, and one of the main ideas in his writings, Reflections, was how important it was to depend on oneself. Count on yourself is an important part of the Stoic philosophy, which stresses the value of personal responsibility and independence. This isn't about being alone or turning down help from others. It's about realizing that we are ultimately responsible for our actions, responses, and personal growth. In Stoicism, the idea of focusing on what we can control is important. Aurelius often talked about the power of the self in facing the problems that life brings us. He said that when we count on ourselves, we tap into our inner strength and resilience. This principle teaches us to believe in our abilities to get through life's problems and worries. It's about gaining confidence, not by being cocky, but by being skilled and knowing your own strengths and weaknesses inside out. Being independent is freeing, but it's also scary in today's connected world, where advice and opinions are always close at hand. It can be hard to learn to listen to our inner voice, but Stoicism teaches us to block out the noise and trust our rational decisions. Aurelius thought that this kind of internal guidance was the most trustworthy because it is based on reason and virtue. He also thought that when we depend on ourselves, we gain autonomy in our decision-making, which lets us make choices that are in line with our values and principles instead of being swayed by temporary emotions or pressures from outside sources. Being able to depend on yourself is important for staying honest and living a true life. So how can we start to trust ourselves? It starts with small steps. Making promises and keeping them, setting personal goals and working towards them on our own, and taking time to think about our choices and how they fit with our core values all build self-discipline over time. This makes us stronger and more stable when life throws us challenges. Number 3. Every day, show up. Marcus Aurelius always talked about how powerful it was to show up every day, both in body and spirit. This isn't about making huge efforts. It's about being steady, randomly released, but about the steady dedication to daily chores that, as a whole, forge a disciplined life. For Aurelius, showing up every day was the same thing as living in accordance with nature. According to him, nature expected us to do more than just exist. It expected us to actively participate in life and make a difference in the world through our actions, no matter how small or routine they may seem. Each day was a new arena, not for big battles, but for showing how committed one was to their principles and duties. It's in the way it functions. Character is built and tried through daily work. In today's world of many distractions and short-lived motivations, the idea of showing up every day becomes even more important. This place makes it easy to get motivated one day and lose your way the next. Stoicism teaches us how important it is to be consistent. True focus isn't about how hard we work, but how well we plan our actions. This doesn't mean that every day has to be a work of art. It just means that we shouldn't let a day go by without noticing or using it, whether it's to move up in our careers, get healthier, or strengthen our relationships. To make progress in any area, all you have to do is show up every day. More than that, showing up every day is deeply connected with the Stoic practice of mindfulness, which means being present in the present moment and doing today's work without worrying about yesterday's mistakes or tomorrow's worries. A lot of what Marcus Aurelius wrote was about focusing on the present and doing the job at hand as well as you can. To develop this discipline, this focus is what makes routine into a ritual and work into progress. Start small and think about what showing up means to you. It could be writing one paragraph of that book you've been meaning to write, working out for 5 minutes, or spending 10 minutes alone with a loved one. What changes us is not the size of the task, but the act of doing it. Every day that you meet your commitment, you strengthen your willpower and build the resilience that is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. By doing this every day, you show that you believe in personal duty and always getting better. You become a living example of the idea that we can control our actions, even if we can't change the results. By consistently showing up, we develop the discipline we need to live a meaningful life. Number 4. Choose to go through suffering. Marcus Aurelius strongly pushed this Stoic practice, but it's not just about making life knowingly hard. It's about getting ready for the unpredictable things that happen in life, making yourself stronger, and appreciating what you have more. Marcus Aurelius, like many other Stoics, thought that intentionally feeling pain helped to strengthen the mind for times when life might put us through discomfort. This could mean giving up certain luxuries, enduring physical challenges, or just learning to say no to yourself in small, everyday choices. It makes sense that if you're used to facing problems, sudden ones won't throw you off. In a way, you're building your resilience, which means you'll be able to handle life's challenges with ease. But why? Accept being uncomfortable in a world that is always trying to give us what we want. Feeling good. The answer is in the very foundation of Stoic thought. Comfort zones are often where growth happens. When we step into places that aren't as easy on purpose, we not only test our mental and emotional limits, but also make them bigger. It's easy to take everyday comforts for granted, but when you choose to live without them, you start to appreciate them more deeply. For example, skipping a meal can make you appreciate the food you do have more, or choosing to walk instead of drive could make you appreciate your mobility and health more. Also, practicing voluntary hardship connects us to the reality that many people live with unintentionally every day. This connection can foster empathy, humility, and a deeper understanding of the human condition, grounding us more firmly in the reality of the world we share with others. So how can we incorporate this practice into our lives? Maybe get up an hour earlier than normal, spend less time on technology for a day, or take the stairs instead of the elevator. What matters is not how hard the challenge is, but how often and why you do it. Every act of pain that you choose to do is a step toward mental strength and self-discipline. Number 5. Practice having two kinds of control. This theory tells us what we can control and what we can't, and it tells us to put all of our energy into controlling what we can. This seemingly simple idea can completely change how we deal with life's problems. Stoicism says that the main things we can control are our actions, responses, and judgments. This can help us feel less anxious and more at peace with ourselves and others, our thoughts, our will, and how we act. These are the areas where we have control. Everything else, like the weather, other people's acts, and global events, is out of our direct control. Marcus Aurelius often talked about this idea in his thoughts, saying that getting upset or annoyed by things we can't change is not only pointless, but also bad for our health. Realizing that we can affect external events but not completely control them is the first step in practicing the dichotomy of control. The Stoic learns to accept this fact not passively but as a freeing truth. By focusing on our own actions and letting go of our attachment to outcomes, we can stay calm and effective no matter what. This doesn't mean we stop caring about or being affected by the world. Instead, we interact with it in a more positive way, focusing our efforts where they can really make a difference in our daily lives. Using the dichotomy of control means asking ourselves, is this within my control? Before reacting to any situation. If it's not, the Stoic practice is to let it go and move on. This is easier said than done, and of course it takes practice. Being aware of what we can affect and reminding ourselves every once in a while of what that is. Stoicism also has practical implications for how we set goals and expect outcomes while we work toward our objectives. Tying our happiness or sense of self-worth to the realization of outcomes determined by a multitude of outside factors is setting ourselves up for disappointment. Instead, Stoicism teaches us to find satisfaction in the pursuit itself, in our commitment to our values, and in the work we do. Marcus Aurelius and other Stoic philosophers didn't promise a life without problems. Instead, they gave us a way to keep our inner peace and dignity, no matter what life throws at us. By following this principle, we can not only improve our own lives, but we can also positively affect the lives of those around us by showing them how to stay calm and strong when life throws us curveballs. Number 6. Do not act like a victim. This idea requires a deep understanding of personal responsibility and a Stoic commitment to self-mastery, rather than giving in to a victim mindset, in which you see yourself as a passive recipient of life's problems. The idea of Stoicism tells us to take charge of our thoughts and deeds. This sense of power is at the heart of the Stoic view that our happiness and peace of mind depend more on our inner state than on what happens in the outside world. It's not meant to downplay the problems or unfair things that people may have to deal with. Rather, it's meant to shift the attention from what happens to us to how we deal with it. Aurelius thought that every outside event gave people a choice. How will we let this define us? By not acting like victims, we reject the idea that our mental health depends on what's going on in the outside world. This is a freeing realization that leads to more personal growth and strength when you follow this concept. We begin by paying attention to how we usually handle tough conditions. Do we immediately look for outside causes or other people to blame? Do we complain about the situation instead of doing something about it? Changing these patterns isn't about hiding our feelings, it's about understanding them better and putting our energy into more constructive things. It means recognizing our pains and disappointments, while also recognizing our ability to move forward despite them. Stoic teachings also tell us to see every problem as a chance to be good and improve our character. This way of thinking is truly proactive and empowering. It turns possible feelings of helplessness into moments of choice where we can assert our agency. Every challenge is a chance to show how committed we are to our values and how strong, persistent, and resilient we are. Qualities that define the Stoic ideal. By never playing the victim, we embody the Stoic ideal of emotional independence. We build an inner fortress of calm and equanimity from which we can engage with the world more fully and freely. This doesn't mean becoming emotionless or indifferent. It means reaching a state where our happiness isn't easily upset by the ups and downs of life. In this way, we don't live our lives based on what happens, but on our deepest values, no matter what life throws at us. Number 7. Learn to wait to get what you want. Marcus Aurelius pushed this idea not only as a way to be more disciplined, but also as a way to find more freedom and happiness in the Stoic view. Mastering your urges by delaying gratification isn't about giving up pleasure. It's about finding a better form of fulfillment that fits with your values and long-term goals. Stoics believe that delayed satisfaction means putting off short-term wants in order to get bigger, longer-lasting benefits. It's about making decisions that might not make you happy right away, but will lead to long-term happiness and growth as a person. This idea is especially important in our modern society of instant everything, where being able to wait for something better is a rare and valuable skill. For Stoics like Aurelius, the practice of delayed gratification was also a way to keep control over their wants. He thought that being enslaved to temporary pleasures could make a person lose their freedom, because they would be forced to follow their whims and impulses. Instead, he said, we can create a life not only of temporary pleasures, but also of lasting peace and happiness by being careful and choosing our actions based on reason and foresight. Using delayed gratification in daily life can begin with small changes, like saving money, instead of spending it on impulse, picking a healthy meal over fast food, or even setting aside time to study or practice a skill instead of doing something fun right away. Each of these decisions supports the Stoic practice of putting long-term benefits over short-term ease or pleasure. Moreover, a lot of research in psychology supports the Stoic view by linking delayed gratification to better outcomes in career, education, health, and personal relationships. People who can wait to get what they want are often better at dealing with stress, meeting their goals, and living healthier, more satisfying lives. Number 8. Don't listen to doubters. For Stoics, this idea is more than just not listening to negative feedback. It's about building mental toughness that lets you stay true to your beliefs and focused on your goals, even when other people doubt or question you. You can't control what other people think, so you shouldn't count on their approval or disapproval for personal validation or direction. Marcus Aurelius wrote a lot about focusing on actions and thoughts that one can control. He stressed that real peace comes from within and can't be shaken by judgments from others. This Stoic indifference isn't about ignoring other people. It's about keeping an internal locus of control. It helps us block out noise that doesn't serve our higher goals or match our values. Ignoring naysayers is important in today's world where opinions are common and criticism is often just a click away. It means realizing that while helpful feedback can help us grow, unfounded criticism should not stop us from our path. This difference is very important. Stoicism teaches us to think about where the feedback we get comes from and what it means. Is it well-intentioned and based on facts? Does it line up with our core values? Moreover, following this principle means creating a personal theory strong enough to handle pressures from outside sources. You should be sure of your choices and behaviors because you have a deep understanding of your own values and goals. Marcus Aurelius did this every day, both as a ruler and as a person trying to be good in a complicated world. Ignoring naysayers also makes us emotionally stronger, so we are less affected by negative views and more focused on the long term. Vision. In a culture that values the social validation loop, being able to break out of this cycle and stay true to yourself is both rare and powerful. By ignoring naysayers, we are not only protecting our mental space, but also choosing where to focus our emotional energy. It's about not letting outside noise take our attention away from the conversation inside our heads that shapes our lives. Number 9. Find smart people to copy. This idea comes from the idea that we can learn a lot and grow as people by watching and thinking about the lives of people who have already learned the virtues we want to develop. Being like wise people doesn't mean copying them. It means learning from them to improve our own character and reasoning. Marcus, even though he was emperor, often wrote about how much he admired the good qualities of people from the past and the present. He and other Stoics saw copying these people as a way to absorb their strengths and virtues. Wisdom wasn't just information, it was a way to live your life. To living well, which can be best understood by looking at how people who have used these ideas well in the context of Stoicism ISM have lived their lives. To choose someone to be like, you have to find someone who embodies the Stoic values of bravery and wisdom. Truth and moderation. These could be people from the same time period in history, or characters from stories and fiction who show traits like resilience, moral honesty, and logical thought. The important thing is to find people whose lives show how to deal with problems with grace and drive. Putting this theory into practice today means choosing role models whose values are in line with our goals. More than just respect, it's important to think about how these people live their lives, make choices, and deal with problems. This practice makes us think, what parts of this person's behavior or way of thinking can I use to make my own decisions and actions better? Besides that, looking for and copying wise people helps connect vague philosophical ideas with everyday actions. It gives us a real-life example of how to live by Stoic principles. This makes these ideals easier to understand and more appealing because we can see the real-life effects of Stoic virtues in the lives of people we look up to. By looking for and copying wise people, we are actively learning and improving ourselves. This proactive approach to personal development strengthens our dedication to excellence and growth. By surrounding ourselves with good people, we set high standards for our own actions and choices, propelling ourselves toward becoming the wise people we want to be now. Number 10. Be honest about your day. This practice isn't just remembering what happened. It's a deep and thoughtful look at your thoughts, actions, and reactions throughout the day. It's about figuring out if these things were in line with your beliefs and Stoic virtues like wisdom, for fairness, bravery, and moderation. For Stoics, this process of self-reflection is very important because it acts as a feedback loop that makes people more aware of their actions and choices. The point of this daily review isn't to dwell on mistakes or be hard on yourself, but to notice and make changes. It's about learning from each day's events and using that knowledge to keep getting better. Marcus Aurelius used this method to make sure that he was not only good at his job as ruler, but also growing as a person and a philosopher. Adding this practice to modern life can be very helpful. It tells us to end each day with a moment of quiet thought, during which we can ask ourselves a number of important questions. What could I have done better? Were there times when I lost control? Why? Answering these questions can help you become more self-aware and help you live a more deliberate and intentional life. This practice can also give you a sense of peace and completion at the end of each day, because it lets you deal with any lingering thoughts or stresses by facing them directly instead of letting them carry over into the next day. This can be especially helpful in our fast-paced world where it's easy to lose sight of our deeper goals amidst daily distractions and pressure. By honestly reviewing your day, you engage in a form of self-accountability that is gentle but strict. It's about recognizing your strengths and areas for improvement without judging yourself. Being a Stoic teaches you to be both a student and a teacher on your own life's journey. You should always be learning from your own experiences and trying to live your life according to the virtues that define Stoicism. Over time, this practice can change not only how you see your days but also how you live your life, making each day more in line with the values you hold dear. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of Stoicism and the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius.